Hello, listeners. It's Gunter Swoboda here with some exciting news. We're on the lookout for sponsors to join us on our incredible journey with Inspire Change with Gunter. If your organisation cares deeply about meaningful conversations around masculinity, self development, and mental health, we'd love to partner with you. Our podcast has a wonderful, dedicated audience committed to personal growth and positive social change. By sponsoring Inspire Change with Gunter, your brand will connect with listeners who truly value thoughtful discussion and support initiatives that promote real transformation. We're incredibly proud to be ranked number one in Australia and number 5 in the USA on FeedSpot's top men's mental health podcasts to listen and follow in 2024. With an average of 50,000 downloads per episode each week from listeners all around the world, our reach is significant and growing. For more information on how to become a sponsor, please reach out to Miranda Spiegner Sapon, our showrunner and executive producer. We'd love to explore how we can work together to inspire change. Now, thank you for your continued support, and let's keep inspiring change together.
You're listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. To guide us through the intricacies and intersections of emotions, relationships, and male identity is renowned psychologist, author, and speaker Gunter Swoboda. This is Inspire Change.
Before I begin the actual podcast, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I work. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome everybody to another episode of Inspire Change with Gunter. I'm your host. Welcome everybody to another episode of Inspire Change with Gunter. I'm your host, Gunter, and I thought I'd take a little bit of a intellectual approach to making good men great. Now, this particular episode, as some of them are, is very much directed towards our male listeners. But that doesn't preclude women listening in as well, because a lot of this actually applies to both sexes. And with a bit of creativity, you can look at how it fits for you, whether you're male or female. So, as you know, this is a podcast where we explore the concepts of masculinity, of growth, personal growth, and also the journey towards building a more equitable and compassionate world. In today's podcast, I want to take a particular look at what's embedded in the title, Making Good Men Great. And it's really central to transforming masculinity. And that is, we're looking at the journey from being a good man to a great man. And over the years, I've had lots of questions about, well, how do you define a good man? And how do you find a great man? Well, today's episode is going to give you the answer to this. Not completely in its depth, but I'm going to certainly give you a broad brush outline. And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to start with an exploration of how aspiration, not ambition, shapes this journey. And we'll talk about the difference between doing good things and doing great things. Now, by the end of this episode, you'll have a clear understanding of how this transformation not only changes individual lives, but also helps reshape our collective understanding of masculinity and masculinity in community. So, Grab a cup of tea, take a deep breath, and let's get started. Now, let's begin with a question. What does it mean to be a good man? Now, for many of us, being a good man is tied fundamentally to traditional roles, providing for our families, standing by our responsibilities, and being kind to those around us. Now, don't get me wrong, these are valuable traits, but let's face it, they're also deeply tied to social expectations that don't challenge the status quo. Think about it. In our culture, the definition of a good man is someone who doesn't rock the boat. He fits into the system. He does what's asked of him, and that's often enough to earn him the label of good. But what happens when the system itself is flawed? When patriarchy disconnects us from who we truly are. Now that's when making good men great, the model, comes in. It recognizes that being a good man is only the starting point. The real challenge, more to the point, the real opportunity is moving beyond being good to becoming great. Now, for a lot of us men, that means moving from ambition to aspiration. Now, here's the big distinction. What is it that drives your growth? Is it ambition or is it aspiration? Ambition, in many ways, has been the engine of traditional masculinity. It's about achieving, winning, acquiring. It pushes us to climb the ladder, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or socially. But ambition often comes with blinders. It focuses on outcomes over processes, on success rather than purpose. Let me give you an example. A man driven by ambition might strive for a promotion at work. He works long hours, sacrifices time with his family, and does whatever it takes to get ahead. When he achieves his goal, society praises him. He's the successful man. But inside, he might feel very differently. He might feel empty. He's burned bridges, lost connections, and sacrificed his deeper values along the way. Aspiration, on the other hand, is about growth. It's about values. It's about purpose. It asks, who do you want to become? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Aspiration isn't about what you can achieve for yourself. It's about how you can contribute to others. It is the difference between wanting power and wanting purpose. Ambition is about climbing higher. Aspiration is about going deeper. So, how does this distinction show up in our actions? So let's talk about the differences between doing good things and doing great things. When you're doing good things, you're often reacting to the world around you. You're responding to immediate needs, helping a friend in crisis, supporting your family, or doing a kind deed for a stranger. These, don't get me wrong, they're important actions. They build trust. They build and create harmony in our lives. But they tend to be situational and localized. Now, doing great things, however, requires something more, a cut above the rest. It's about intentionality. It's about creating a vision for how your actions can contribute to something larger than yourself. Here's an example. Doing a good thing might mean donating to a food bank during the holidays. That's wonderful and necessary. But doing a great thing might mean organising a community initiative to address food insecurity year round. The first is reactive, the second is visionary. So let me give you some practical steps. Now, in order to do that, let's look at the aspirational process. So, how can I move from doing good things to doing great things? How do I evolve from being a good man to a great man? Well, the first thing is to embrace the fact that it's a process. And in making good men great, we call it the aspirational process. So let me break it down. It goes in 5 stages. The first step is awareness. Remember, it always is the foundation. The first step is recognizing the limitations of the traditional scripts of masculinity. Are you stuck in cycles of competition or ambition that leave you unfulfilled? Awareness is about seeing those patterns clearly for the first time and embracing them. Acknowledge them, validate them. The second step is about reflection. Once you're aware, it's time to reflect. What do you truly value? What kind of impact do you want to have in your relationships, your community, and or the world? This stage is about reconnecting with your authentic self. The third stage is about commitment. Reflection leads to commitment. At this stage, you're not just thinking about change, you're actively choosing it. You decide to align your actions with your deeper values and aspirations. Stage 4. This is where the transformation begins, and it is quite rightly called the transformation stage. This is where the real work begins. Transformation is about challenging old habits and embracing new ways of being. It's about cultivating emotional intelligence, comfort with vulnerability, and courage in the right dose at the right time, in the right place with the right people. And finally, it's about integration. Here, you harmonize your personal growth with your outward impact. You move through the world as a role model, inspiring others to join you on the journey. So, how do we expand this even further? How do we go from the inner world to the outer world? One of the important things to remember is that this journey isn't meant to be taken alone. Community is a vital part of the aspirational process. Why? Because change, real meaningful change, is hard. It takes courage to step outside of the social norms and challenge the status quo. That's where the community comes in. It offers 3 things. Support. A community helps you to stay grounded when the journey gets tough. 2, accountability. It reminds you of your commitments and holds you to your higher standards. So in that, be aware who you associate with. And then inspiration. By witnessing others' growth and contributions, you're inspired to keep moving forward. When men come together to support one another's aspirations, incredible things can happen. We move beyond competition and we start building a world based on connection and collaboration. We work together. So here's an outline of some practical steps to start doing great things. And again, the question is, how can you start moving from doing good things to doing great things? So let me give you some steps, along with some examples to inspire you. Identify your values. Take some time to reflect and write down your core values. Ask yourself, what really matters to me? How do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to, be congruent with my authentic self in my relationships in the world? Once you've identified your values, let them guide your decisions and actions, not necessarily the environment. I'll give you an example of this. If one of your core values is compassion, think about how you can show compassion in your daily life. Now, this might mean being patient and actively listening to your partner during tough conversations, or volunteering with a group that supports marginalised communities. Secondly, start small but think big. Begin with small intentional actions, but keep a long-term vision in mind. Each small step should align with a larger purpose or goal. Again, let me give you an example. If you're passionate about mentorship, start by mentoring one young person in your neighbourhood or workplace. Now, remember, this is about consent. You don't just get in their face. But once you've done that, think bigger. How can you organise a mentorship program for other men to join? Maybe you could partner with a local school or a community centre to create a structured initiative. 3, build your network. Surround yourself with people who inspire you and share your vision for growth. Look for peer and above. Find mentors, join support groups, and even create your own community of like-minded individuals. And folks, it's not just the sporting club. Go beyond that. Go beyond, not that sport's not a good thing, it is. And sometimes, as part of the picture, we go for walks together, we might have a gym session together, but think about the greater purpose. Again, let me give you an example. Look for men's groups that focus on emotional intelligence, healthy masculinity, and or community building. If none exist in your area, start a small group with friends or colleagues. We start with one that begets the many. A simple monthly meeting to discuss growth and challenges can evolve into something much bigger. Number 4, challenge patriarchy in everyday life. A lot of patriarchal behaviour is often upheld through unconscious habits and behaviours. Start asking how you can dismantle systems of dominance, competition, hierarchy, and exclusion in your everyday life. Replace them with, collaboration, with working as equals, and by creating inclusion in your life. So, for instance, at work, advocate for inclusive hiring practice or call out biases when you see them. In your family, encourage open emotional expression by modelling vulnerability with your children and your spouse. Instead of teaching boys to toughen up, teach them that emotions are a strength, not a weakness, and that they can regulate them. It's not something that needs to dictate your life. Feeling sad, feeling bad is not the driver. Reflect and calibrate regularly. Step 5. As most of you will know intuitively, growth is not a straight line. It's a process of trial, error, and adjustment. Take time to reflect on your journey. Celebrate your progress. And, importantly, reassess your goals as needed. So, a good example there is keep a journal to track your actions and their impact. Write down moments where you felt aligned with your values and note areas where you could improve. For instance, if you notice that you've been too focused on career success, reflect on how you can reprioritize relationships or community involvement in the coming weeks. So, by starting with small intentional steps and building towards a larger vision, you'll not only grow personally, but also you'll inspire others around you. Remember, doing great things doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of consistent, purposeful action that align with your values and aspirations. So, take that very first step today and watch how the ripples of your actions create lasting change. Firstly, with yourself, and then in your world. So, as we wrap today's episode, I want to leave you with this. The journey from being a good man to a great man is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about aspiring to something greater than yourself and taking consistent steps towards that vision. Buddhism gives us the message to be in the moment, but yet it is also aspirational. It's to enlighten ourselves more and more and more in a life that is worth living. Remember too that aspiration isn't just about what you can achieve. It's about what you can contribute. It's about leaving the world a better place because of who you are and what you do. So let me thank you for joining me again today on Inspire Change with Gunter. If this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to share it with others. Let's keep the conversation going. Together we can inspire change and reimagine what authentic masculinity can be and how we leave patriarchy behind. So until next time, take care, stay courageous, and keep aspiring. This is me signing off until next week. Love to hear from you. And if you're interested, please check out my work on www.gunterswoboda.com or www.goodmengreat.com.
Thank you for listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. For more information on the Making Good Men Great movement, or for individual or group coaching sessions with Gunter, visit goodmengreat.com.